bursts of energy here and there. I want you guys working up a tiny bit of a sweat in the neck, keeping the ankles stiff. So we're training that type of stiffness. It goes right through the foot. It's a little different taxation than what you're used to in shoes. High knees, nice and quick. High knees, not medium. High. And then heels, heels, heels on the other side. Perfect. My legs straight the whole time. Okay? So you're always keeping your hands in contact with the floor. You walk out to flat. You get that stretch on the hamstring. Walk the hands out until you're in the top of the push-up. Good. You can throw in a push-up if you like. Towards me. It's just very simple karaoke. Once you get to half, pick up the knee. So back knee sweeps up and across. Once you get to half, I really want you to drive that knee up fast and down fast. Okay? Down. All the way down. Pick up that back leg at half. Good. Coming back. Side step, big, wide step. This leg stays nice and straight. I push back, pivot to the other side. Try and drop down, staying on the heel. Notice my heel is in contact with the floor here. I'm not up on my toes. Try and keep your chest up nice and tall. Okay, so big, wide step. Let's go in a half with this one, and then you can jog it out to the other side. So just a half, and then jog it out. If you need to put your hands out in front for a little counterbalance, that's fine as well. That might help you sit back a little deeper. Maybe a little bit of shoulder work. Part of what we're going to talk about is just mechanics of how we move at different joints. This one in particular around the shoulder joint. We're going to talk about how to retract the shoulder blades. What I'm going to do is I'm going to be chest down on the floor. I'm going to take my hands out to a T position, and I'm going to try and pull back, arms nice and straight in a T. Then I'm going to go to a Y. Okay, so arms up here, Y, lifting my hands up off the floor, and then finally a W. Okay? So we'll go T, Y, W. So I'll go here, T, 10 times, squeezing my shoulder blades together. Okay, I'm gonna stay looking at the floor, 10 times. Then I go to a Y, keeping my shoulder blades tight together as best I can. Think about that angle, and then we finish in a W. You're doing 10 of each. And then the W, we tuck those elbows down a little bit. We're lifting just off the floor. Okay? This is going to be very simple hip bridging stuff to get started. So back flat on the floor. I'm pushing my low back into the floor here, keeping my toes up off the floor, and I'm just pushing my hips up into the air. So this is a hip extension. You're going to do 15 of those. Okay? Back stays nice and flat on the floor while you're there. Pushing those hips up as high as you can. Toes are up off the ground, so we're just pushing through the heels. Go to 10 on each side, but we're going to do single legs. So I'm just picking up one foot, 10 reps, pushing my hips up in the air. Same thing, my toes up off the ground. And then I switch sides after I've done 10, 10 on the other side. Okay, so single leg hip extension. If you're finding this really hard on your hamstring, pull your heel in a little bit closer to your body. We want to feel this through the glute. Okay, this should be right through the glute, right through the butt. If it's really hard on the hamstring, pull your heel in closer to your body. Again, talking shoulders. I'm going to do this on my knuckles. You guys can do it hands. Just make sure you're really gripping the floor if you're doing it with hands, okay? I'm going to do it with knuckles. So I start up top. I'm going to do a shoulder squeeze push-up, okay? A scap push-up. Notice I'm not bending my elbows. I'm just letting those scaps, my shoulder blades, retract. Okay, so it's going to be one full push-up, and then I push back, and then I'm gas pedal, stretching the hamstrings in the back, scap push-up, full push-up, hinge back, stretch the hamstrings. Okay, scap push-up, practice that one if you need to, but you're not bending your elbows. I'm going to see a lot of mini elbow bends. That's fine. But a scap push-up, you're keeping your body nice and straight. We're not dropping the hips down. Then we push back into our down dog position, stretch the hamstrings. That was better, that last one. Keep this level. Yeah, you're dropping just through here. Good. And then push all the way back up. And then the push-up. Everyone does this. My toes are pointed slightly out. Okay? Feet are not right under my body, just slightly outside shoulders. I lower straight down. I'm going to keep my arms out in front, sitting my hips back, and then I push back up, keeping my heels on the floor the whole time. Okay, so trying to stay nice and upright, squatting down, and then right back up. Now, we're going to bend at the waist. grab under the toes, pull ourselves down, keeping those elbows inside. One arm comes up overhead, second arm, and then we stand up. So you're trying to keep your torso upright the whole time. So I bend, pull myself down into that squat, staying nice and low, hand up, and stand up. If we're having a real hard time with this, okay? Little bend in the knees, wider stance, okay? If you're having a really hard time, wider stance. Make sure the elbows stay inside the knees. Try and pull those arms up and then stand up. So what we're gonna do, you're gonna react on my go. When I say go, you move to the next level. So it's gonna start everybody up on your toes, hands in the air. I'm gonna say go. You snap the arms down. I wanna hear you stomp the floor, so it looks like that. The next one, I say go. Fast feet on the spot, okay? Constant shuffle. When I say go a third time, you jump. Make sense? Ready. Go. Go. Fast, be fast. Go. That's what it looks like. Good. Some of you have worked with me before. You've definitely seen this. So I'm starting on my back, okay? Both arms straight up, both legs up in the air, bend 90 degrees. Important thing, I'm not letting my back arch. I am pushing my low back into the floor as hard as I can. Okay, so I'm actively trying to push into the floor. Then I extend opposite arm, opposite leg. I hold, come back up, go to the other side. Opposite arm, opposite leg. I'm not touching the floor with either. And I'm just gonna alternate just like that. Okay, you're gonna do 10 on each side. I'm gonna stand on this band. In this case, I'm gonna do one foot. You guys can start there. Okay, standing on the band. You can see what I'm doing here is I'm hinging over. I'm not bending my knee a lot. Just hinging at the waist. Back stays nice and flat. And I'm pulling my elbows right back towards my hips. You'll notice I'm not rolling my shoulders up. I'm not shrugging. Okay, I'm keeping my shoulders back and down. Okay, that's what we want to see in a pull. Instead of shrugging, keep those shoulders back and down. Okay, so it's going to be 10 pulls just like this. Driving the elbows back and hold. If you want to make it harder, 2 feet on the band. We're bent over in this position. We're driving those elbows back, pinching the shoulder blades. So we call this a 90-90 stretch. So I'm going to get into a seated position. Wow. Okay, 90-degree bend on this leg, 90-degree bend here. I've got a little bit of a split between knee and heel. Okay, but you want to make sure they're out in front of you. That's almost getting into a pigeon stretch there, which we'll come back to. But see how, for me, it's my right side. Knees out in front. This knee's folded down beside. I'm going to keep my heels on the floor and rotate over.
Oh, wow, you could do that?
Barely. Rotate over, so think about it this way. So getting into this position. So if you're having a hard time, start in almost a groin stretch position and then just take one side and fold that one behind. That's your starting position. Heels on the floor, yeah, and rotating the hips over. Sliding back to the other side. I'm just trying to lift that foot off the floor. That's ridiculous. In a good way.
Whoa.
Whoa. What are you?
Okay.
Gymnast.
So I'm not lifting my knee, okay?
I call them pretzel people.
My left knee is staying on the floor, and I'm just lifting my foot. This is as high as I can go. Question?
You can go higher?
Try and keep the hip where it is, okay? Doesn't matter. The fact that you can do either is fine.
Is this because of gymnastics?
Okay? Yes. Okay, and then I'm going to switch sides. My right side, this is how high I can get my right foot.
Oh, wow.
That high. Notice it's not moving. So what we're doing there is we're externally rotating the hip.
Oh, that was
so
Indian
we're
fun.
driving the hip out, and that's where that glute activation comes from. So the knee actually moves, but our hip is the one doing the work to rotate. And drive up and hold. 5 seconds. Trying to drive that knee up as high as I can. Down. Switch to the other side. Up and hold. What's working here?
Hip flexor?
Hip flexor for sure. Quad a little bit. How about the glute? How about that stabilizing leg? Can we stay up nice and tall, not collapsed here? So 5-second holds each time. Trying to stay up nice and tall. Staying balanced. We've got to work pretty hard through that back glute, but it's really hard on that hip flexor. is tension, stiffness, flexing the core, activating those muscles to stabilize, okay? What we tend to see in push-ups a lot when we're learning is this. Okay, the hips come down, then we kind of boost up, okay? We're trying to create this position. So what I'm doing to create that position, squeeze the glutes, okay, hard, and then we squeeze our core as well. That creates a nice flat body line, and then we just push up, okay, back down, the position. So elevated position, and I'm just gonna lower myself down, not too far, okay? Just gonna lower myself to here and push back up. But you notice I'm keeping that body line nice and flat, right? That's really what I wanna see. So give them a try from the ground, try 1 or 2. If it's a big struggle, just move it up to the bars, okay? Try them elevated. Question?
Diona's like, Molly, she was like going like this, but Diona's going like that.
So great question, so you notice right away. Molly,
Isn't it harder like that?
super strong, super
Yeah.
strong, so you can keep your hands in nice and tight. Generally, what I'd say is, hands just a little bit outside your shoulders, grip the floor with your fingers hard. I like to do knuckles. You don't have to do that. There's a reason I do it. It's because my wrists are really crappy. But grip the floor, and then notice where my elbows go, okay? My elbows go in here. Now girls, the way it's a little different, you've probably only ever seen push-ups really demoed by boys, like myself, or done by boys. Girls, the way your shoulders are, it's just a little bit different. The way you leverage positions is a little bit different. So if you need to flare your elbows out, no problem. What we want to avoid is this. If your shoulders start dumping forward, or you feel yourself shrugging, that's what we want to avoid. So when I get into this position, you can kind of see how I can fix my shoulders and they stay tucked back a little bit. So even if I kind of flare my elbows out, you can see that I'm keeping my shoulders kind of back and flat, right? That's what we're trying to do. So the question is, do we have to do this? Not at all. Do whatever's comfortable. Legs on the floor, bending over, picking something up, right? What we're gonna work on here is the principle of a deadlift. So I want everyone to find a little bit of your own space. We already kind of saw this with our pulls, because what we talked about was a hinge position, okay? That's the bending of the hips. So a squat, knees, okay? Pushing up. A deadlift is a pull. That's because the hamstrings will do a pull, okay? So what I want you to all to practice right now is just moving in and out of that hinge position. So we're gonna push our hips back. I reach my butt back to the wall, and then I'm feeling that tension in the hamstrings. Do we all feel that?
Yeah.
Squeeze your hamstrings and your glutes to pull back up. So I'm not just kind of folding myself back up. Push the hips back, squeeze with the glutes to pull yourself back up. Does that make any sense whatsoever? A little bit, not really. It's our first exposure to it. We're gonna do a single leg version, because why not give you the hardest one? You have to balance on one leg, hinge over, okay? You will feel this tension on your hamstring, yes? And then I want you to try and pull back up. So it'll look like this. I'm gonna reach out, stay nice and balanced. You can see my back leg is reached out, and then I squeeze my glute and stand right back up, okay? Just like that. Bending over, squeeze, and try and get right back up to that standing position. Trying to stay balanced on one foot the whole time. If you need to, go over to the wall, put one hand on the wall for a little balance support. But what I want you to get used to is getting into that hinge position,